Perfect. Costas, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Hyla. Good afternoon, everybody. So as Hyla said, this is going to be a fairly brief session. I'm going to run through the upgrade process with you guys, and there'll be plenty of time for Q&A, because I say that to go through the process won't take long at all. Any questions, feel free to shout out, put them in the chat, wait till the end, whatever you want. Interrupt me as much as you want. So let's kick off. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Now, I'm assuming that all of you, or certainly the majority of you, are here because you want to upgrade rather than you've already upgraded. So we'll cover off the upgrade process. Okay, let me just... okay, so hopefully you can all see that web page I've got there with a list of MS systems. Okay, someone give me a thumbs up or something, they can see that screen for me. Brilliant. Okay, all right, so perfect. Okay, so when you're looking to upgrade to Compass Plus, the first thing you should do before you click the upgrade button is just check that you've got compatible MIS. So these are all the MIS systems that Compass Plus is currently compatible with. This probably accounts for about 88% of the market. So there are some that we're not compatible with, but this is the huge majority of them we are compatible with. If your MS isn't on here, that means you can't upgrade at the moment. But if you do have an MS that isn't listed, then please let me know, because we are looking at getting others integrated shortly. So it'd be good to know which ones we're missing. So yeah, if yours isn't included, let me know. So assume that your MS is on here. The other thing to bear in mind is that at the moment, Compass Plus is only available for schools. So not available for colleges at the moment. If you're a college but you're using the school version of Compass Plus, then you can upgrade. So if, for example, you're a 16 to 18-year-old college, then yes, you can still use Compass Plus. If you go past 18, you can use it, but it's probably not that appropriate for you. So it'd be worth considering that as well. But generally, as a rule, if you're using the school version or the SEND version of Compass Classic, i.e. the evaluation questions that you see are either for SEND or schools, then Compass Plus will follow the same format in that sense. Okay, so that's the MIS, that's the sort of eligibility criteria, which go through the process of how to upgrade them. So when you log into your Compass Classic, you'll be probably annoyingly get this message every single time you log in to say you're eligible to upgrade. If you don't see that message, then get in touch. You do want to upgrade, then get in touch with us, and we'll see whether that's because you're not eligible or because it's a system issue at our end. So, but either way, get in touch with us so we can make sure the information is up to date. Okay, so once you're ready to upgrade, click on this banner here, read more and upgrade now. That will take you to a little section here to say these are the pre-upgrade tasks. So it says tasks, but it's really just things to bear in mind. So obviously, we expect you to as part of the upgrade process, you'll be asked to tick a box to say that you've agreed to our T's and C's. So these are all hyperlinks here for you to read those. We use Assembly, who's part of Group Core as our integration partner. So as part of the upgrade process, you'll also be asked to agree to their T's and C's. So fairly standard stuff, but it's just a bit of forward say this is what you expected to do. And then find out the name of your MS system, as we said earlier, because you'll be asked to put that into the online form now, and then have the name and email address of your IT manager or network manager, whoever's going to do the technical steps for you. So have that ready beforehand as well. And what we'd also say in regards to that is once you submit the form, that would generate an email to your IT contact. So we'd recommend that you tell your IT contact that you're doing this, so that they just get an email out of the blue and say, who's this, and just ignore it. They might think it's a phishing email or a spam email. So ideally let them know it's coming, and ideally sort of book a bit of time in for them as well to do the upgrade. The technical steps of the upgrade should take no longer than about 20 minutes. I've had people do it in as quick as 10 minutes, but it should really take no longer than 20 minutes, as long as your IT contact's got the right permissions within your SIMS or Arbor server, etc. Okay, and the other thing we'd ask you to do is also just check your current list of Compass users, because bear in mind that when you upgrade to Compass Plus, whoever you give access to that will have access to pupil level data. So if you've got staff users that have, campus users that have left the business, left the organisation, then please just deactivate them before you upgrade, just to make sure that they no longer have access to the campus data in there. Okay, and then this is just basically a copy of the form. So if you ask to select your MIS, your IT contacts details, it will show you your list of users, and you can either anything with a tick in it will show that they're active users. So if you want to deactivate somebody, then just uncheck them. You'll see the tick disappears and they'll be greyed out. So that means they're not active. So this is scenario. Ian Peters is not an active user, but the rest are. So again, if there's users that should be active that aren't, then you can just enable them by this tick box here. So whatever users you've got active on here, they'll be transferred over to Compass Plus when you move over. So no need to re-register users when you move over. Okay, so tick that you confirm you've reviewed the T's and C's, etc. And that you've agreed with our T's and C's, and then that's it. That's it from the careers leader and the Compass user perspective. What that will then do is generate an email to your IT manager, as mentioned before. That will include the steps that they need to complete. That email will have a very detailed, will have a link to a very detailed guide depending on what MOS you've got. So it'll have a detailed guide to SIMS, Arbor, Bromcom, etc., etc. They can follow. Let's say that should take them probably no longer than 20 minutes to complete the upgrade. Once they've done their technical steps, Assembly will sync data with your MIS. That would take probably, depending on how much data you've got in there, probably take about sort of 4 hours or so. And then we will do an initial data sync with your MIS as well. So it can all be done in the same day, but what we normally say is allow a full overnight sync for the data to appear in Compass Plus. Now, once it's done, there'll be an automated sync that happens every single evening. So we'll update our data every day. So as things change within your MS each day, if you've got leavers or new people starting, you're creating new groups, they will appear in Compass Plus each day. So that's an auto sync that you don't need to do anything with. So once you've done submitted your form, your IT contact have done their bit, that's it. You no longer need to do anything else. From then on, it will just sync automatically daily, assuming you don't change MS or move your SIM server, etc. You shouldn't need to do anything else from a technical perspective. And that's it from an upgrade perspective. And as a note here, we'll forward these links afterwards, but as a note here to say there's various self-service guides that you can follow once you've upgraded. There's a series of videos that you watch, and then it will say to you, create a custom group or add an activity, etc. We've also got other sessions for you guys who want to attend later this next month. We've also got our regular sessions that you can see on our webinar page. We've got recordings of previous sessions. Again, if you can't attend any of the sessions that are coming up, you can watch videos of previous recordings as well. Okay, so that's kind of it really from an upgrade perspective. Very, very simple. So really over to you guys for any questions on that.
Costas, Sally Webb, who is from South Essex College. So I know you said for colleges it might not be that possible at the moment, but they use Capita and Unit E as their MIS system. Is there any, do we know the timescale? I know that's quite often used in FE, isn't it, Capita? So is there any timescales of when that might be integrated or be able to be used?
So I'll have a look at it. The next bunch of integration will be done probably in the next 3 to 6 months, but I'll see if Capita is on there.
Thank you. I know certainly a lot of the colleges use it, and there are a few schools that are using that as well now. It is quite a common one. So
okay,
great. Thanks for the question, Sally. There's also a question in the chat from Jeffrey, which is around issues requiring Assembly requiring permissions to all data via SIMS, including parent carer details and staff pay details. Assembly mentioned they need permission for all data, although they do not access everything, which is an issue for them, which is fair enough. Do you know if that requirement is likely to change? He said that the T's and C's, he knows that they state that you only access certain student data, but having it saying that it could access all is an issue, which I can understand would probably be for other schools. You must have had that question before, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so everything you said is correct in that sense. So when you sign up to Assembly, it will ask for a very broad scope of data. Now the reason for that is Assembly. People use Assembly to connect to about 150 different applications, not just Compass Plus. So the school may be running their payroll system through Assembly, for example, or the HR system, which is why it's asking for payroll data or staff data. Now Assembly would only have access to the data within the application that you authorize. So if you only authorize Compass Plus, it will only access the Compass Plus data, which is on our data scope on our website as well, which I can send you guys. Now, again, for most schools, that's okay. Once they understand that, they appreciate that and carry on with the upgrade. For some, it's still a sticking point because their view is, well, if you don't need it, don't ask for it. But the answer is you may sign to Assembly now for Compass Plus, but in 6 months' time you may want to use it for something else. And bear in mind that the scope that Assembly asks for is a scope that's advised by the MIS. So obviously you guys are all using your own single MIS, but if you were to switch to one another, you notice slightly different data scopes within Assembly for SIMS, Bromcom, etc. Because that's what SIMS or Bromcom or Arbol recommend that you give Assembly access to ensure whatever app you authorize works well. Now that said, there's no way to stop that request initially, so you have to agree to all of those initially. But I say it will only take in the data that you are authorized on the app that you're using. We're looking at something in the future where we may be able to give some more control over that. So even though at the moment you're in control in the sense that you authorize Compass Plus, it will only access the Compass Plus data. We're working with them to see if there's something we can do for these sort of educations where people say, I really, really don't want to, really want to lock down these permissions. We're looking at something that we can do to facilitate that as well. But that's probably going to be next academic year before anything like that comes into play.
Okay. Lovely, thank you, Costas. Sally and Tina, you've both, I can answer this question, which is very exciting. You both asked the question regarding sort of, is there a limited number of students that could be uploaded to Compass Plus? What I think the great thing about Compass Plus is that, as Costas said, it links into your MIS system, so sort of your attendance student data system, which means that you don't have to do anything. All of the individual students, including things like whether they're free school meals, looked after children, pupil premium, that sort of thing, is all pulled across automatically. So there's no uploading from your point of view at all. It means that you can also report on certain cohorts or certain characteristics or year groups or tutor groups or subjects or whatever it is. So there isn't any, there's no work from your point of view in terms of getting that student data on there, which is great. And it means also with that, so the sort of, I'm sure this isn't the right terminology, but if you like, the tags come along with them. So if they're, say, in maths in class 2 in year 11, they've done an activity to do with careers, you can pop that into Compass Plus, and rather than having to think about all the different students and finding out if they were in attendance or not in attendance or whatever else, you can just tag in that class, and then depending on what the register has said, you'll know that it will just automatically assign it to that activity, to the right young people. So which is great, and it also means that as part of benchmark 3, I think, where there's the sub benchmark around making sure that young people have access to their records to do with careers education. You can put, because that's done at an individual level, you can pull it down at an individual level as well. So that really helps with that benchmark, because I know that's quite a sticking point for a lot of people, sort of those individual learner records in terms of their careers program. So it does it for you basically. So yeah, once you're off the ground with it, and once you've done that sort of initial IT upgrade, there's a bit of setting up in terms of if putting your activities and things on there, but actually after that it keeps all the records for you, which is much easier. Someone's got their hand up. Let me just have a little look to see who that is. So I think it's Jonathan has got their hands up.
Yeah, that's me. I'm sorry, I came in a little bit late. What What does Compass Plus do that's above and beyond Compass? I mean, I know it links in and gives individual school records, but I'm not exactly sure how it works. How does it do that, and how do you use it to track?
So Costas, if I start and then I'll hand over to you, shall I? So the Compass Original or Compass Classic, I think they call it now. Essentially, all you can do on that is a self-assessment against the Gatsby benchmarks. What Compass Plus does is you can still do that, although it does a lot of it for you, which makes life a bit easier. But you could also it allows you to track all of that different activity, to plan all of the different activity. You can do it against individual levels for the students as well, for classes, for year groups, whatever it is. So it also allows you to kind of use that data to really look at, are there groups that you're missing? Is there different benchmarks that in the activities you've got planned aren't going to be hit? Is there specific cohorts of young people that's not going to that perhaps hasn't been hit by something, or that sort of thing?
How does it do that? Is it a manual upload on each event you do into that, or?
So in terms of the events, yeah, you would record in Compass Plus the events that any activities that you've done, but then you wouldn't have to go and locate every single student or type in every single student in it. You could say it was this year group, and then anyone tagged against that year group would be automatically assigned to it. Or if it was I don't know, a science lesson in year 8 that the teacher had told you there was something happening, then you could just do just those present in that class on that time. So yes, you need to put in your activities, but you don't need to then like go through every single student and put them against it, because that would be, I can't even imagine having to do that in a whole school. So you definitely don't have to do that. You can sort of use the tags against it.
Okay.
Costas, was there anything else that I've missed in that?
That's pretty much it. I mean, in a nutshell, the big difference is it draws down to pupil level data. So in Compass Classic, you can say I've got 100 pupils in each year group, and off you go with your evaluation. What Compass Plus will do is say, okay, here's the list of those 100 pupils in year 10. Here's the list of those 30 in class 2H. Here's the list of those pupils with preschool meals assigned to them, etc., etc. And you can build your provision around those different cohorts. That's the main thing. But also bear in mind that within Compass Plus, you can record interests and destinations. You've got access to we're getting kind of out of scope here. You've got access to the future skills questionnaire in there. It now links with the apprenticeship website as well. So lots and lots of, you really can't compare the two products, to be fair.
One other thing that it was Chase High actually who have moved over to it. They recently had an Ofsted inspection and was asked in two separate. They had to have, the careers leader had two separate interviews with the Ofsted inspectors, and they really drilled down into things like, well, what specifically are you doing for pupils that have got free school meals, or specifically for SEND cohort, or you're telling me that you run an apprenticeship assembly, but what about the ones that missed it? Well, this allows you to figure out who's missed it and what they're sort of missing. So it allows you to really drill down to that data as well.
So it would take attendance data and link that in as well. Is that right?
Yeah. Costas,
Okay.
I'm right in saying yes to that, aren't I?
So at the moment, it will take attendance data, but it will only show you what percentage that pupil attended. So for that academic year. So
if I've put in, right, I've got an event on this day, this day, this day, and then you assign it to a year group, would it automatically say the whole year group have got it, or would it say the whole year group got it apart from these pupils who were absent that day?
So at the moment, if you select the whole year group, it will say the whole year group attended. What you then need to do is exclude the ones that didn't attend at the moment. So sorry. So we're doing some work at the moment which should be available next academic year, so come September this year, where it will pull in that attendance data at the point of the activity. So at the moment, it will show you this pupil attended 97% of the term or 100% of the term, but it won't pick those out of activities. But that is coming.
My apologies, I've got
Okay.
excited about an upgrade that's not here yet.
That's right.
But imagine how
that's
excited I'll be
helpful,
when
thank
it
you.
does get here. So, thank you. Vicky, you've got a question.
Yes, hello. We currently use a platform called Unifrog. Have you heard of it?
Yep.
It sounds very similar, what you're saying about adding interactions and adding events and doing the sort of pupil breakdown and so on. Is there an advantage to Compass Plus that would sort of override Unifrog's capacity, would you say?
So my understanding of Unifrog is it's a teacher and pupil platform to record activities. Okay?
Yeah.
Now so you can also record activities in Compass Plus. So in that sense, they're kind of doing the same thing where you record activities. I don't know Unifrog that well, but I don't know whether Unifrog has all the other information as well, where you can link that pupil within Unifrog. Can you see that pupil's interest destination? Can you see their future skill responses? Can you see what cohort they're in, etc., etc. So there's lots of other things that link in. But what we've done with Unifrog, Cello, Moresby, and Start, we've partnered with them, and within Unifrog and those other products, there's an option to, with a couple of clicks of a button, is download your activity data from Unifrog, for example, and upload that into Compass Plus.
Okay.
So you don't need to duplicate that. It'll probably take you about 5 minutes to download it to a CSV file and then upload it to Compass Plus. So between us and those other tools, we recognise that Compass Plus, it's not competitor to the other tools. We will recognise that they should be worked together. So we have worked together to build integration with Unifrog, Cello, Moresby, and Start. We can do a fairly. It's not fully integrated, but it's basically a download and upload option. So a few clicks of a button, you can download them from Unifrog, upload them into Compass Plus.
Okay, thank you.
Vicky, and I think I might be remembering, and it may already have passed, but there will do some others. But I think there is a webinar coming up with that interaction or the upload bit between Unifrog and Compass Plus. So I'll have a little search for that and send you the link. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere, so I'll send you the link if I can find it.
So that's happened.
It's happened. Sorry.
Yeah, but you will. What I can do is send you a link to the recording of that.
Yes, please. That'd be really helpful. If I'm honest, I'm struggling a little bit at the moment to see how Compass Plus is different to Unifrog.
Okay, if you're talking about purely for activities, then they're both a tool to record activities. But say you won't get all the other associated things with Unifrog. And one of the people say, well, why should I put it in both? Well, if you're going to put it somewhere, why not put it in Compass Plus rather than Unifrog? I know pupils won't have access to Compass Plus, but Unifrog won't give you access to the other data that Compass Plus does either. And I think what would be worthwhile is if you are able to attend one of the other sessions where you can see the pupil profile in Compass Plus, that gives you kind of the real holistic view of that pupil's journey within the school, not just activities, but what groups they're in, so what activities they're taking part in, what's their future skills, questionnaire responses, what's their interest destinations, etc., etc.
Okay.
So if you, to be fair, if you only want to record activities, then there's very little difference between the two.
Okay, thank you.
Vicky, I suppose, and I'm not sure Costas is going to appreciate me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I suppose one of the things that might be a suggestion is in terms of upgrading to Compass Plus. It's well, as Costas said, it's maybe about 20 minutes, mainly from your IT person than from yourself, and you can upgrade and still. I'm not recommending this, but still only use it as the Compass assessment tool. So like the self-assessment tool, and then that will still give you the opportunity to essentially have a little try and see what you think of it. So you'll still be able to use it for your Compass assessments as you would do sort of the old version, although some of the data will be like how many numbers in a year group will be in there. So you won't have to hunt that out, but you can then have a play about with it basically and see what you think, because obviously we've all got tons of time to play about with different systems, but at least it will give you the option. You can sort of do a bit of comparison then as to what you're thinking.
Okay, thank you.
And also, and bear in mind, Compass Plus is not a chargeable product, so it will be the cost of it is how long it takes you to do the integration. So 5 minutes of your time, 20 minutes of your IT time, and it's there. And if you
Oh, it doesn't cost anything.
Oh
No,
no,
it's,
this
a,
is
it's a
free.
free product. So
Oh,
again,
I
if
didn't know
you're,
that.
I don't know what Unifrog costs, but I know it's a chargeable product. But
Yeah.
there might be some advantages over Unifrog's Compass Plus. But again, bear in mind that Compass Plus is free. As Hyde says, you can upgrade. Only use it for evaluations if you want to. Worst case scenario, if you decide you really don't get on with it, a click of a button, we can revert you back to Compass Classic. So we don't want people to do that, but if you find you're really struggling with it or have an issue with it, we can revert you back. It's not a problem.
Thank you.
Hyde, just looking through the questions here, we've got someone saying we use Go for Schools and Sims. So Sims is definitely compatible. Hello there. Sorry, what's your first name, Mrs. Hamilton? Oh, she's Claire. She's
Claire,
on mute.
yeah.
Right, Claire. So Sims is compatible. Now, my understanding of Go for Schools, it's not an MIS system. It's a tool for tracking. I don't know. Is it homework type stuff?
Yeah, it's behaviour and academic. All our school reports go on it. So academic tracking type stuff.
Okay, so there's no integration with Go for Schools, but for Sims, it definitely is.
So the fact that we use Sims, so this is it. We use Go for Schools. So we take our registers on Go for Schools, but it feeds into Sims, I think. So we've got two of them running side by side. So the fact we've got Sims up and running, I think, means we should be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it feeds, irrespective of how your data gets into Sims, if it's in Sims, Compass Plus will pull it from Sims.
Okay. And what would Sims need to have on it for it to work with Compass Plus? What information is it pulling across?
So it's the basic pupil information, really. So the pupil UPN, what year group they're in, what class group they're in, what characteristics they've got. So it'll be all the basic stuff.
So that all goes on there. Yeah. So I think it should be okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've got someone saying we'll change to Bromcom. So if you are changing MS systems, you can still upgrade before the change. But what we'd say is when you change MS, what you'll find is that any activities that you got associated to pupils will no longer be associated to that pupil, because the way the pupil is presented in a new MIS will be different to the way we've got it recorded on your old MIS. So if you are looking to change MS soon, then we'd recommend holding off until you do that change before you do the upgrade.
Thank you. I'm on mic now, actually. Hello. Okay. Thanks for that. The other question is, who has access to this information as well? So
within your school or outside of the school?
Outside of school.
So outside of school, the only people, the people that have access to it will be us at CEC from a support perspective. So we don't share the data to anybody. Only data we share with the likes of DFE is all aggregated data, normalised data. So we wouldn't say this is this school's performance. We'll say that nationally we've got X percentage of schools meeting benchmark 5, for example. And we say we've got X amount of schools using Compass Plus, etc., etc. So staff at CC will have access to it from a support perspective. So, for example, if you say little Johnny in year 8 is shown as pupil premium when he isn't, we might say to you, okay, what's his UPN? Let's just check that. So our support team may need to go and go, actually, that's because your MS has sent us a flag for little Johnny in years 5 to say he's got PP premium. So that's the only people that would have access to it, and that's for support purposes only.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks.
If any of you do have any questions or concerns, I suppose, over the GDPR, the data protection side of things, then there are I think it works out about 60% of our schools, 70% of our schools in the hub that have moved over to this. So I'm not saying that therefore you don't need to do your own checking on that. Obviously you do, but if you do say your MIS person wants to speak to the MIS person in a different school, then just shout, and we can sort of team, like we can pair you up with a similar school so that you can get their take on it as well. I'm just thinking in case your data protection officer or whoever it is has got concerns, then schools will be similar. So in terms of their data protection issue.
Yeah, and also similarly on that, if your data manager needs to complete a Data protection impact assessment for the school. We've got a DPIA template that you can use, which regarding Compass Plus. So the impact assessment will be for your school. So we wouldn't complete it for you, but we've got a template that you can use regarding Compass Plus.
Thank you. Let me see. Have we got any more hands up? I think they're both legacy hands, the ones that are up. So that's Tina and Vicky. Are there any other questions? Sally, I can see in the chat that you've put a question regarding Unit E and being the main database. From what I can see, and Unit E isn't supported as yet. So as a college, your best bet, I think, at the moment is just to stick with the Compass Classic, and then as soon as I hear more about sort of colleges being onboarded, then obviously I'll let you know and we can support you specifically with upgrading to that. I'm really conscious of time, so any other questions or thoughts or anything on Compass Plus that you'd like to know at the moment? No. Okay. Well, thank you, Costas, for the information. It's been really useful and great to have the questions asked as well. We have got 2 other sessions that are coming up as well. So we've got the getting started and the effective use of Compass. So that's actually, once you've upgraded, this is how you use it. These are the different features of it, that sort of thing. So, and that's coming up on the 17th. And then we've got one about the Future Skills Survey as well, which again I think is a brilliant aspect of Compass Plus. Can really help you streamline, I think, more than anything else, your careers provision. So that's a great angle too, and that's coming up on the 29th. But I'll send you a follow-up email with the video and then the links to those things as well, and any other bits that Costas has mentioned as well within that email to you. Great. Let me stop recording, otherwise I'll forget.